Are you old enough to remember TV in the 90s? If not, then you really missed out. In Germany, where I grew up, there was a TV show that I loved called Geh aufs Ganze, which means risk it all. The show was a copycat of the American game show Let's Make a Deal. The game goes like this. There are 3 doors. Behind one door is the main prize. For example, a brand new car. At the beginning, the contestant guesses and puts her hope on one random door. Of course, the contestant doesn't know behind which door the main prize is and where the zonks are hidden, items purposely chosen to be of little or no value. Then the first door, behind which there is one of the 2 zonks, is opened. Now the host gives another chance to change the door. Usually the contestant is given even a big incentive in form of a cash or other tempting prizes to change the door once again. Let's say you're a contestant on the show and there are only 2 doors left. Behind one door is the zonk and behind the other one is the main prize. What would you do? Would you switch your door or stick with your first choice? In fact, very few people switch. But what if switching is the better strategy? Hi, my name is Felix and in my channel I talk about the psychology of innovation. This video is about a strategy that only a few people understand, but which if used correctly can maximize your success in almost every area of your life. In fact, the strategy to switch is not only the better strategy in this game, it's the better strategy for a successful life in general, and it's elemental to innovation. But don't fall for the walls right away. Let me explain first. Because whoever switches in this game has a 2 in 3 chance of winning the main prize. But if you stay with your door, you only have a 1 in 3 chance of winning the main prize. What? Wait a minute. Now you're probably thinking BS. The chance is 50%, right? No matter which door I choose. Wrong. So here's a quick explanation. Let's say your strategy is stay. You bet on door 1. If the car is behind door 1, you win. It doesn't matter which of the other doors the host has opened because you don't switch to either of them, right? If the car is behind door 2, you lose. If the car is behind door 3, you lose also. So the odds of winning with this stay strategy are 1 in 3. Now let's assume your strategy is switch. You bet on door number 1 again. If the car is behind door 1, you lose. Why? Because you switch in any case. If the car is behind door 2, the host would have opened door 3. So you would switch to door 2 and win. If the car is behind door 3, the host would have opened door 2. So you would switch to door 3 and win. So the odds of winning with the switch strategy are 2 in 3, twice as high as the odds with the stay strategy. Congratulations, you hacked the game. It's easy, right? If it weren't for our damned intuition, it's misleading us because it suggests that we have a 50-50 chance no matter what we do. And what leads our intuition even more astray is our friend Status Quo Bias. Now, this isn't really a friend, more like someone who's always around but no one really likes. Because if we change the door and then lose, we get twice as angry because we had already bet on the right door. That's why hardly anyone dares to change. We stay with the status quo. But the fear of losing should never influence our actions. Especially if acting fearfully means reducing our chances of success. Not acting can be just as fatal as acting. We just don't realize it most of the time. Investor Warren Buffett is one of the few people who regrets inaction more than doing the wrong thing.
The biggest mistakes are the ones that actually don't show up. They're the mistakes of omission rather than commission. We've never lost that much money on any one investment, but it's the things that I knew enough to do that I didn't do. We have missed profits of as much as, maybe $10 billion in things that I knew enough to do and I didn't do.
But Warren Buffett is Warren Buffett. Any duke, poker champion, and author of the book Thinking in Bets says that most people look for certainty, but successful poker players, they think in bets. Successful poker players don't have to be sure they will win that specific hand, but they have to be reasonably sure that if they play the hand 100 times, they will make more money than they would lose. They play the hand that has a positive expected value. It's more important to win in the long run. Failure is part of life. That sounds pretty harsh, or actually, it sounds pretty cheesy, but it's true. No wonder successful people are usually proud of their failures, because they know that inaction would have been worse.
It's always embarrassing to fail, but you have to say, no, that's not how this works. If I said to you, you have a 10% chance with a particular decision, a 10% chance of a 100x return, you should take that bet every time, but you're still going to be wrong 9 out of 10 times, and it's going to feel bad 9 out of 10 times.
Let's say you're faced with the decision to launch a startup or to take a well-paying job. Let's say the job pays you a salary of $150,000 per year. Is it worth pursuing your dream of a startup then? The first question that arises is how many startups are really successful? Statistically, it's about 10% of startups that bring a positive return to investors. So let's say, for example, you address a large market and a potential exit, for example, a trade sale of your company or an IPO, brings in $100 million. Then the math goes like this. At the time of the trade sale or IPO, you may still have 20% of your shares. Why not 100%, you ask? It's simple. Your shares are as popular as free beer in a college dorm, and everyone will pounce on it. Your investors, your co-founders, and even your employees. And if the probability of success is 10%, then it looks like this. $100 million times 20% of shares times 10% probability of success. That means that you can have an average profit of $2 million. Of course, the whole thing doesn't happen overnight. Let's say it takes an average of 7 years from the idea to the sale of the business. And then you have an opportunity cost of roughly $1 million as you miss out on the secure salary for 7 years. However, even if you calculate your opportunity costs against that, your expected value is still positive. And finally, you would also get a salary from your startup every year. So the opportunity cost is not as high as it seems. From that perspective, the startup would be more worthwhile than the so-called safe job. Thinking in bets applies, but not only to entrepreneurship, but to be pretty much every risky decision in your life. Thinking in bets means you don't have to win all the time. But if you think in bets, you win in the long run. If you stand in life before the doors of the future, think in bets, even if you have to question your so-called intuition. Don't wait for the 100% sure choice, because there almost never is. Choose the option that has the highest expected value. There is one caveat here, however. Most people have an optimistic bias, especially entrepreneurs and innovators. Poker is different in the sense that you can calculate the probabilities. When you start a company, on the other hand, you have to estimate your own probability of success. Therefore, try to get actual data and statistics to determine the base rate. You can also ask other people how they would rate the likelihood of success for a business in that industry. This will give you an outside view, which is usually more realistic than your wishful thinking inside view. Thanks for watching. My channel is all about the psychology of innovation. Subscribe to my channel if you want to learn more about it. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I'll see you in the next video.